Creepy experiences on the road, we all want to hear about it. I think especially women want to hear about it because they want to prepare themselves to what would be the worst thing that would happen on the road. How bad could it be? Are my worst fears gonna come true? That's what this video is. I'm gonna talk about my worst experiences on the road, traveling, how I overcame them. Have I been in any dangerous situations? I became a traveler just after college, living abroad and taking any job to keep me on the road. That's me working a cheeky donut shop in Australia, teaching English in Vietnam, and becoming a tie-dye instructor in the Rocky Mountains. And that one time, I had to hitchhike through New Zealand after some French girls quite literally kicked me to the curb. Yeah, my 20s were one hell of an adventure. For the past 3 years, I've been on a journey living off-grid full-time in my truck camper. I'm currently in Central Oregon for the summer, and like usual, things never go to plan. Let's talk about my truck camper specifically. I've had one pretty, when I was asked this the other day at the brewery, I couldn't think of anything that came to mind. And then I remembered, oh yeah. One of the scariest moments I've had in my camper happened just a couple days ago. I heard this banging on my camper door and it went like this. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So my door was wide open. Anybody could have just come right on in. And this dude had a face mask, like a gator thing on, and he looked a bit older. And he was talking to me about how he thought I'd been at my campsite for too long. And I asked him who he was. And he was like, I'm a local resident. And I was like, okay, thank you. Have a nice day. And he like jumped in his pickup truck and left. But I swear it was like a tweaker and it really scared me. But thankfully I had a second car out here that I haven't put in storage yet. And so he thought that there was multiple people here. But girls gotta watch out. You know what I'm saying? The second one was in Vietnam. I had my wallet. I'll show you. I was in Saigon and downtown and I had my wallet right here, and then a guy on a motorbike came and pulled it out of my road bike, and the person on the back snatched it. So that was very frustrating at the time because it had only about $10 in it, so that wasn't a big deal, but it had my debit card in there and I had to cancel those debit cards, and then I had my dad transfer me some cash through MoneyGram, I think, and then my mom had to pay $100 to mail me a new debit card through a international mailing system. What is it called? Gosh, H&B or something. And one time in Vietnam, this guy followed me home on his motorbike. This is what I should not have done, was walk home from the bar by myself. Everybody else still wanted to party. I wanted to go to sleep. I walked back to my hostel and a guy on a motorbike followed me back, and I was like, hey, leave me alone. And then when I finally got to the alleyway of my hostel, a guy from my hostel room ended up coming out and saying, hey, baby. And yeah, he actually annoyed me that afternoon. He was really chatty. And then he kind of had my back and acted like my boyfriend when I was coming home. So that scared the guy with the motorcycle away. And that was one of my more sketchy situations, and that one could have been prevented if I would have went home with a group rather than alone. So, but I still made it. I was at a hostel. This one was also, I don't recommend hitchhiking, but I hitchhiked in Washington, and then this creepy guy picked me up, and thinking back, I shouldn't have got in the truck. I should have been I'm okay, but I don't know. I was kind of naive at the time. I kind of thought most people were nice, and I remember him asking me, do you have a weapon? And it kind of he was like, pretty girl like you shouldn't be hitchhiking. And anyways, he ended up giving me a pen, and he was like, if you need this, here you go. So that was pretty sketchy. In hindsight, like, I have probably put myself in situations that could have gone wrong, that I was more vulnerable, but I was naive in my early 20s, and I haven't had any really bad experiences, and so I come into things like thinking people are the best, thinking people are fine, and I've done a lot of couch surfing and things like that, and there's been some like creepy guys that are like, if you want to come to my room later, like, and I'm like, no, and I didn't even like leave them bad reviews. Like, I kind of brushed it off, and I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm learning a bit too much. So now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, oh, I would not have done that. But in my 20s, I was like, oh yeah, people are nice, everything's fine. Nothing bad has ever happened to me really on the road, and I think that even though there have been a few times where I'm like, whew, glad nothing happened, that was a close one. I think that people are overly fearful about it, and I think sometimes it's just part of my personality that I'm really adventurous, and I also think that I've had really good experiences. And so for anyone who's like really scared on the road, I would say, you know, kind of take it in baby steps, and then you'll start to have more confidence over time. And the more like you camp alone, the more you feel comfortable camping alone, and the more times that you have that information in your head that, oh, everything's gonna be fine. But I've also had to leave campsites when I have felt like uncomfortable. I have pulled up to campsites before and been like, these aren't travelers, like, this is just like a homeless camp, and I've left. I do listen to my intuition when it comes to sketchy situations, and I just try to put myself in, you know, I just use my best judgment, and I think that your instincts for the most part will lead you right. You know, you'll be fine.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for.